Today I fucked up by letting my friend drink my mom's Coke. So about 10 years ago, my mom died unexpectedly. I'm not sure if this was a thing everywhere, but at that time in the US, Coca-Cola was running this Share a Coke ad campaign. Basically, they printed a bunch of labels on their bottles that said Share a Coke with person's name. People got really into finding a bottle with their name on it. Anyway, the day after she passed, I happened to come across a bottle with my mom's name on it. Her name isn't that common, so I took as one of those "she'll always be with you" kind of moments. I bought the bottle and stuck it in my fridge because IDK. That's where you put Coke. I don't like Coke, so there wasn't any risk of me accidentally drinking it. Fast forward to last weekend, that Coke bottle has known been my fridge for over 10 years, well, 3 different fridge since it survived 2 moves. I had an old college friend who was coming to visit me for a couple of days. Since his flight got delayed, I ran to the store to pick up some stuff for him. He likes Coke, so one of the things I grab is a 6-pack of Coke, which I stick in the fridge. Since I'm not consciously thinking about my mum's weird memorial death Coke on a daily basis, I don't mention to him when I tell him, "There's Coke in the fridge." 10 minutes later, we're talking in the living room together as he drinks his Coke. While we're talking, I happen to notice my mom's name on the side of the bottle and gasp. Then, out of shock, I start laughing hysterically. It takes me a solid 5 minutes to explain to him what happened through my laughter. My friend comes to the slow realization of why his Coke tasted so flat and is understandably horrified. Feeling guilty, I suggest he finish the Coke and I could just keep the empty bottle. He was even more horrified by this idea, so we eventually decide to just dump the rest of the Coke down the drain. I'm still keeping empty bottle, and my friend is now laughing with me about the whole thing. I get the sense that he'll probably get a hotel if he's in town again though. TLDR, I accidentally forgot this weird memorial Coke I got to honor my mother was in the fridge, and my friend accidentally drank it. Today I fucked up by saying "you're my mammal" to my fiancé. Last night I was a mess. Drunk, upset, had a heated argument with my family and was damn pissed. I got home and wanted to have sex with my fiancé. Like not the romantic one, but borderline feral, rip me out of my head kinda. We got into it, he's on top, and I wanted to say something hot and possessive like, "You're my man." But for some ungodly reason, "fucking animal" was also floating in my head. My dumbass brain tried to say both the words, and I ended up moaning, "You're my mammal." Fucking. Stroke. He literally stopped while inside me and asked, "Im your what?" I was sloshed but realized what I had said and tried to double down. "You're my strong hot mammal." This man died laughing like he was gone. He literally rolled off me and laughed for 5 minutes straight. Still, he got back into it, and every time he moved, he'd start wheezing again. After the sex, I just turned over and knocked out. Right now, since we've woken up, the man hasn't shut up. "So lem your mammal, huh? You know, as your mammal, I can drive you to work." I have never known shame like this. TLDR, called my fiancé my mammal in the middle of sex, and now I'm embarrassed as hell. Today I fucked up by getting so lucky that I wasn't asked back to a gig. Obligatory not today, but last year, I answered an ad to help out with the local high school's theatre production. The actual job that I was hired to do, I did well, but this isn't about that. The production ran from Thursday to Sunday, 1 show each night. At intermission, there was a 50-50 lottery, with the other half going to senior scholarships. On Thursday night at intermission, I bought 10 tickets for $5. I won. Pretty sweet feeling, was about $100 richer. On Friday night, I decide, what the hell, why not try again? And I do the same thing, 10 tickets for $5. Wouldn't you know it, I won again. High off the buzz of my second win, and being a charitable guy, I suggested they donate it all. This earned me some applause. By Saturday night, the general public had heard what was going on. At intermission, there was a definite murmur in the crowd. My fiancé and my sister came, and we all did my usual bye, but none of us won. People seemed relieved by this. On Sunday night, I thought, you know, wouldn't it be the funniest thing if I won again? So, same routine. 10 tickets for $5. Same mood in the crowd, people were looking at me and all that. I won. Again. People groaned. Now I had a choice to make. I decided that I had the feeling of winning, and I had been charitable. But maybe it would be nice to give someone else the feeling of winning, so I suggested that they call another number. Well, I had bought 10 tickets, so they called another one of my numbers. People went nuts. Someone shouted, "Oh, come on." The director suggested I donate the money again, but I took the cash because I figured some spiritual force with a good sense of humor really wanted me to have it. People were not happy about this. When I walked out at the end, some lady booed me. It's about the same time this year, and I haven't been asked back. I'm sure there are several benign explanations as to why, but I'd like to think it's because they're afraid I have some lottery black magic. I've never won anything since. TLDR won a lottery 4 out of 5 times at a gig, and that may be why I wasn't asked back. Today I fucked up by making a clever comment and possibly getting myself unemployed. Wrong time, wrong audience, wrong everything with this one. Situation essentially boiled down to someone on our development team violating company policies by sending out client data out of the company for their test cases. In short, not my problem until I made it. There I was at an hour-long meeting, listening to the usual schmuck saying a whole lot of nothing about how things need to change, knowing fully well nothing will. Anyways, in the meeting, he's trying to highlight how it looks on our group on a higher level, and it doesn't look good. So he starts his sentence with, "I'll be Frank," and I reflexively respond, "And I'll be Patrick," thinking my mic was muted. The way my soul left my body when I saw the little purple flicker on my profile icon showing that my sound went through. Quiet filled the room. Then he kept going. Yeah, the senior leadership team has us in hot water, Beck." After the meeting ended, I got a calendar notification showing that my one-on-one with him on Friday got moved to an hour from now. Well, fuck. TLDR made a snarky comment to my boss, and now I might be in trouble. Update, not fired, but was told to keep my wise-ass comments to myself in the future. LOL. Today I fucked up by bringing too much beer to a work party. 2 facts about me that are important to this story. 1, I was raised by an alcoholic, and 2, I don't drink alcohol. Last week, my boss asked me to pick up alcohol for a department party. I told her that I might be the wrong person to ask since I don't drink, and hence don't know what people typically like or how much to get. She told me to just get whatever, it'll be fine, and she gave me the corporate credit card. So I tried to think back to my childhood because I don't drink. I never hung out at bars in college, and the only measure I had regarding how much people drink was based on my dad. I remembered that it was usually by beer, no. 6, that Dad turned into a pretty cheerful guy. This was so prevalent in my life that my brother and I called it the 6-beer smile. Note, my dad would not always stop at 6. He would sometimes drink 10 or more a day, so I thought, well, Dad drank a lot. So I think we'll be fine with 5 bottles of beer per person, since that's just one shy of a smile. I called my older brother to double-check if 5 beers per person would be a sufficient amount of alcohol for a work party, and he agreed. Yeah, that sounds about right. The department has 40 people, so I ended up picking up about 34 6-packs. I got a variety because why not? And yeah, it cost a lot, but this company wastes money on plenty of other things. So I just assumed this was just the cost of a party with alcohol. I loaded up my car, it took a long time, drove to work, and then carried everything to the large conference room that was reserved for the party. The party was yesterday evening. I really only stuck around for a little bit, made appearances to wave hi and say something to the higher-ups so they knew I attended. And then I ducked out and went home early. I woke up to some texts from my boss today, consisting mostly of, "How much did you buy?" "The party is drowning." And finally, "There's more in the cabinets?" And yeah, when I initially dropped everything off, I ran out of space on the counter, so I put the rest in the cabinets. I asked a few friends why my boss was freaking out. They started laughing and reminded me that my dad is an alcoholic, and I probably should have gotten just 2 drinks per person, because that's way more normal for a work party. TLDR, I bought 5 beers per person for a work party, and I can only imagine what the result was, but even though I effed up, let's be real. My boss effed up. More by asking the non-drinker to buy the alcohol. Update, Twitter 242025. Thanks everyone for your comments. I especially appreciate those of you who reassured me that it really wasn't that bad, and those of you who gave me advice for the future. I got a little overwhelmed by the number of responses, so I'm sorry if I didn't respond to your comment, but I appreciate all of them. A few clarifications. I live in the US, and the area I'm in is a little on the conservative religious side of things. Folks around here drink, obviously, but getting drunk around co-workers, for example, is frowned upon. This is, I have learned, very different depending on where you live in the world. The definition of alcoholic is also very different from person to person. My father was and is a sad, angry man, and in my second-hand experience, alcohol was a very unstable way for him to self-medicate for his anger and grief. For those of you who were distressed that my co-workers drank warm counter beer, someone put the drinks on the counter in a cooler between when I dropped them off and when the party started. Again, I try to leave work parties as soon as I can. I prefer to hang with my friends or my brother when I have free time. It turns out party was a misnomer from my boss, and as someone suggested in the comments, it was more of an after-work social gathering where the intention was that people could drop in and out or stay for a while. Anyways, I was the first one in the office. My boss, let's call her Kathy, came in a little fired up though, so thank you Redditors who gave me some good responses to her. First, Kathy asked why I didn't respond to her texts, and I told her that I don't check work texts on the weekend. Then she asked what I was thinking getting so much expensive alcohol, and I said, as many suggested, I told you I don't drink and didn't know how much to get, so I wanted to make sure there was enough and that there was a good variety available. I held out the corporate card for her to take back, and she took it and went off to her office and shut the door. A few folks stopped by my cubicle to tell me the party was fun and I should have stuck around. Word clearly got around that this was my doing, because one guy told me I should always be the one who brings the drinks. Kathy's door stayed shut all morning. I started getting a little anxious, because cost aside, it just sounded like everyone had a good time. So I figured F it, and I went to my boss's boss. Let's call him Brian to see if everything was okay. According to Brian, everyone thought the random assortment of beer was pretty great. After I left the party, which was as soon as possible, that was when they figured out that there was a bunch of different stuff in the cooler. One person started digging till they found something they liked, which encouraged more people to do the same. Brian said it was funny when someone opened the cabinets and yelled out, "There's more," which I admit is kind of funny. I told Brian that Kathy seemed really upset about the whole thing. According to Brian, Kathy was pretty upset on Friday and kept apologizing about how much I overspent. I told him that I didn't even know there was a budget, and he laughed at that. I found out then that the budget was around $100 for drinks. I spent around $440. I gave Brian the same short explanation I gave Kathy. I don't drink and wasn't sure what or how much to get. I asked Brian if he wanted me to return any unopened six-packs, and Brian told me not to worry about it and said that he'd talk to Kathy. On a different but still related note, some of you said my brother's response to me was hilarious. And some of you said it was concerning, and I honestly agreed either way. I called my brother when I got home from work, and we had a really good talk. It turns out he didn't think my question was serious, and his answer was sarcastic. So when I told him the whole story, he thought the situation was pretty amusing. We also had a talk about the impact of Dad's drinking on both of us. I'm not going to go into a ton of detail, but he reassured me that nowadays he only drinks with friends, and even then, not very often. I made sure he knows that if he ever needs to talk, I'm here for him. Update TLDR. My co-workers had a good time. My boss panicked about going over budget, but her boss thought the excess was funny and told me not to worry about it. Most importantly, my brother is okay and not following in our father's footsteps. Today I fucked up by running for student council. This whole story started when I was towards the end of 6th grade, but has affected me until as a college student. In 6th grade, I was a very average kid. Decent grades, small circle of friends, highly introverted. One day, one of the members of our school's ComElect Commission on Elections went to our classroom and said something along the lines of, "Hey, whoever wants to run independent, not under any party for this upcoming school election, and get a position in the student council, get this folder, which contains all important information regarding campaigning, elections, etc. The only position available for our batch was grade 7 batch rep, which means you represent the whole of grade 7 the next school year. All of a sudden it was like a light bulb went in my head. I wanted to run for batch rep. Despite my introverted nature, I always had the best interest at heart for the batch, and I was never in any major case prior. But apparently back then, that's all it took for me to grab a folder and look into how I can start my campaign. A few weeks pass and me officially running for batch rep is now public. Of course, I had my small circle of friends showing me unconditional support, but I had batchmates who literally went to my face and said, "OP, I forgot you existed." Or, "Hey, I'm not going to vote for you because I don't like you. I'm sorry, but did I assault your parents or spat at your food?" I know what I am doing was very much out of character, but I felt like having the audacity to tell someone that is absolutely crazy. I ended up not winning, and honestly, I kinda expected that I was going against the valedictorian and the biggest Nepo baby in the batch, so I had no shot. Fast forward to 7th grade itself, and because of me running, I am now somehow relevant and existing in the batch, and unfortunately, that resorted into bullying. Because I pushed myself into the spotlight of the school, and with the way I was treated, it was like I was forced to become an introvert to an extrovert in a matter of days, and as a result, I became socially awkward and cringe. That became the main factor why I was bullied, so I returned to my introverted phase, but even more reserved, submissive, and awkward. Every day was another day of me being treated like a punching bag. And in case you're wondering, I brought this up to my parents and they brought it up to my principal, and the principal didn't do shit. A lot of empty platitudes like, "Hey students, stop bullying." No action whatsoever. Remember those horrible things that some of my batchmates said to me? Well, in the election for that school year, those same people actually had the nerve to ask me, "Hey OP, why aren't you running?" What the fuck? Even if I truly knew what I was getting myself into, how do I answer someone when they ask me that question when they didn't even vote for me? Hell, openly stated weeks before voting that they would not vote for me. All in all, grade 7 was a very depressing school year for me, and it wasn't any better in grade 8. The online pandemic years were a double-edged sword. I didn't have to meet my batchmates who made my life a living hell, but I also couldn't talk to my friends as often. In fact, one of my best friends fell out with me, mainly because of how I was treated, and apparently it was ruining his image in the batch. Another gram of salt in the wound. I guess it was fortunate for me that things got better in grades 11 and 12. I don't know if it was because people matured or people moved on or both, but I was just happy that grade 7 treatment was gone. It's been about 12 years since grade 7, and as mentioned at the start of this TIFU story, I am currently in college, but since my spontaneous running for batch rep stunt that has actually fucked with my confidence level for that long, I never took any leadership opportunities, and I avoided any socialization outside of my friend group. In fact, that led me to talk a lot of shit behind people's back. As euphoric that felt in the moment, I never liked that. But every day part of me wished I never ran, and I stayed very average and very introverted, because that caused me little to no problems, or at the very least, no problems that were to the extent of what I faced in grade 7. TLDR, I ran for grade 7 batch rep, and it heavily changed my life for the worse. Today I fucked up by being too nice to my FWB. Been seeing this girl since January, and from the get-go I told her I didn't want a relationship. She agreed and suggested we become FWBs. It was my first time getting into a setup like this, but I gave it a go. Turns out it was pretty much what I needed at this time. All the perks of a relationship, minus the emotional attachment. It helped that this girl was good-looking, and we even vibed as friends. We would legit meet up sometimes and not even have sex, just watch movies and listen to music. One thing about me is I like to surprise my friends and treat them to lunch dinner sometimes without planning. Last night we met up for the deed, but before that, I took her to this nice place and surprised her by paying for everything. It's something I do for my guy friends, and they do the same thing too. This morning I woke up and I was blocked everywhere. She left a message telling me she was starting to develop feelings. She knew my boundaries and couldn't help it, so might as well cut things off to guard her heart. I'm a little bummed because she didn't even let me say my side of things. How I would totally be down for a relationship with her in the long run now. Thing is, we have no mutual friends. I know where she lives, but that would be too creepy IMO. TLDR treated my FWB to a fancy dinner. She developed feelings, now I'm blocked everywhere. Update: wow, this gained more attention than expected. Just to clarify, she lives in a condo with tight security, so I can't exactly just show up at her door. Many have suggested writing her a letter, and I feel like that is what I might do next. It's a bit too romantic for my tastes, and I like being nonchalant, but I think I just like this girl that much. I understand things like this can be tricky, and I am admittedly at fault too, as I guess I also developed feelings without being honest about it. I'm hesitant to get in a relationship too early, as I just broke up with NY year-long GF last December, and recent events made me realize I still needed time to completely move on. This fact my FWB knew well. A silver lining Thoga is despite me being blocked everywhere else still, it seems she's unblocked me on Instagram where we used to talk a lot. I'm not sure what that mimrans, but I haven't messaged her there yet to give us both time to process our feelings. To those curious, we're both early 20s. Today I fucked up by forgetting I had a prosthetic leg at hospital security. So this happened yesterday when I was taking my daughter to the hospital for a kidney checkup. I've been an amputee for over a decade, so you'd think I'd have the whole security thing down by now. But apparently, my brain just decided to take a vacation. I walk up to security, toss my keys and phone into the bin on the conveyor, tell my daughter to go first, and then confidently stride through like I own the place. Beep. The security guard looks up. Step back and try again. Weird, but okay. I step back, walk through again. Beep. Now I'm standing there, confused as hell, while the guard eyes me suspiciously. You got anything in your pocket? I slap my thighs, trying to be helpful. Nope, he frowns. Any metal implants? Nope, I say, like a dumbass. Me and the guard just stare at each other. My daughter stares at me. The lady in line behind us stares at me. Then it finally hits me. Oh, right. I don't have a right leg. I start laughing like an idiot and lift my pant leg, showing off my prosthetic. The security guy shakes his head like he's seen it all, and my daughter just looked like, yep, that's my dad. Long story short, I get the usual wand scan and pat down while my kid shakes her head in disappointment. Meanwhile, the lady behind me in line is absolutely losing it. So yeah, TLDR TIFU. By forgetting that I have a metal leg and unintentionally making a hospital security guard's day a little more difficult. Today I fucked up by using a water bottle from high school. So I went to the gym for the first time ever yesterday. I was really anxious and self-conscious the whole time. I realized halfway through that the girl on the treadmill next to me had a water bottle, and I was like, oh, that's probably a good idea. Today I got ready, I decided to grab a water bottle. I have two, both from high school. Because since my job back then, I haven't really needed a water bottle. I'm in my second year of college. I grabbed one, inspected it to make sure it was safe to use by looking in the thing and checking the bottom of the lid. It looked fine, and so I filled it and left. My water bottle has a lid with a latch. Basically, you twist this little screw and flip the latch open. It's one of the Takea brand ones. This is important. I was on the treadmill, walking, listening to music, and I go to open my water bottle. There was a small smell when I opened it, but I figured it was whatever. I open it again 5 minutes later, the smell is stronger. I open it a third time, take a sip, finally look down, and there's mold coating the top. Under the latch and all over where you're supposed to put your mouth. I almost fell off the treadmill, I was so disgusted. I have a huge phobia of food poisoning and mold in general, and I'm wanting to throw up just thinking back on it now. I made it through the rest of my workout without issue, went back to my apartment, tried to scrub it off and put it in the dishwasher. I think I'm just gonna have to throw the whole thing out. Even if I can get the mold out of the water bottle, I'll never be able to get it out of my head. Now I'm just eating cereal, wondering why I didn't notice sooner, and mourning the loss of my water bottle. TLDR, today I fucked up by using a water bottle at the gym, not knowing it had mold in it, and now I'm dying inside as my insides are dying. Today I fucked up by misunderstanding the meaning of a midnight deadline. This happened yesterday. My daughter was selected for an advanced orchestra, and there was an option to submit a recording for a seating audition. The instruction is to submit by midnight February 24th. I assumed that we have the whole day of the 24th to finalize it and submit by 11:59 p.m. to meet the deadline. As you might come to expect, the submission portal was closed when I tried to access it in the evening. I guess the deadline was 12:00 a.m. February 24th. The FU is I didn't reach out and get clarification from the organizer, and now my daughter might be placed in the back of the orchestra, even though she worked hard on this audition. We reach out to the organizer, hoping that it was a mistake in setting up the deadline, but I guess technically they are correct. My wife is very upset with me as she asked us to submit earlier. We actually made some recording on Saturday, but my daughter wanted to get feedback from her teacher to see how she can improve and re-record on Monday. Throughout my life, during school and work, etc., when someone say due by midnight on a day, it usually means that one has that day to work on the task. Lesson learned, need to get exact clarification when deadline is concerned. TLDR missed a midnight deadline and not able to submit for an audition. Update. I have been checking their submission webpage, and there is a posting today that they are allowing people to email their submission video to the ensemble chair by today if they had issues uploading their seating audition video. I think the wording of the original instruction was confusing to most people, or they selected the wrong time for the deadline in their Google form. So this is a way for them to fix the mistake without admitting they made a mistake. I promptly resubmitted as soon as I saw the post. I think a lot of people got screwed and misunderstood the submission deadline. Today I fucked up by sending a screenshot of my spam folder. In a job hunt search at the moment. Applied, got an auto email that asked me to take an online assessment. Assessment completed, crickets since. Get an email today from their HR saying due to no response, I was being taken out of the applicant pool. Immediately email back and say that I haven't received anything since online assessment. HR person emails back and says hiring manager emailed last week. I look and don't see anything, check spam folder, see the message, and I take a screenshot and send it to the HR person, saying, I'm so sorry, this ended up in my spam folder. If there is any opportunity to still be included in the process, I am still interested. Look down after pressing send. The message in my spam folder immediately above the director's email was from a local dispensary. TLDR TIFU, by not checking my spam folder and then sending a screenshot to a job I applied for that had a dispensary email in it. Today I fucked up by dropping my kid off at daycare. Today I royally fucked up. This morning, after my normal workout, I realized I had left medically recommended bag of unopened marijuana I bought the previous day out on my dresser. Without thinking, I put the bag in my back pocket to take and put up in my lockbox. I continued my morning routine, got my young son dressed and his lunchbox ready, and loaded us up in the car. Went and dropped him off at daycare and headed to work. An hour later, I get a text from the owner of the daycare with a picture of my bag saying I dropped something. It gets worse though. Yesterday, we were awarded a $32K project for their new location. They're my brand new client. Thankfully, she seems very understanding and says her husband is a medical patient as well. I haven't stopped cringing since. Can't tell my wife or business partners, so Reddit it is. TLDR dropped off kid at daycare, owner client texts me with picture of found medical marijuana with my name on it. Today I fucked up by not putting on a condom, leading to ER visit. My 34M girlfriend 27F and I have been in the exploratory stage of our relationship for the past couple of months. As we are focused discovering more about each other beyond what we knew already from the time before we started dating. A lot of this is sexual since I've known her for a few years now. One of the kinks I discovered she has is self-pleasure edging instructions. To help her along, for the last couple of weeks I've been sending her joy voice messages videos that are anywhere from 15-30 minutes long, either via FB Messenger or Marco Polo. This has been a tremendous success and has helped us both get a better read on the other, e.g., how she responds to praise, humiliation, etc. That brings us to this weekend. She bought me a Clone a Willy kit to enhance the future joy that have insertion in them. We decided to put it to use, following the instructions for the most part, but I forgot to put the condom on. When I removed myself from the mold, everything seemed fine. A few hours later when I went to urinate, it was all red and burned when I urinated. We immediately went to the ER. Apparently some of it got into my urethra, as well as under my foreskin because I didn't wear the condom, and some of it was still stuck in the tract. I was treated with some contained laughter. I've never been more embarrassed in my whole life. TLDR used a Clone a Willy, but forgot to put the condom on. Some of the silicone went into my penis and led to a very embarrassing ER visit. Today I fucked up by not putting on a condom, leading to ER visit. This did in fact happen today. I was at the casino, playing blackjack and losing, as one does. There was another woman next to me who was losing a lot more money a lot faster, because she kept putting huge money on the side bets and almost nothing paid out. We were joking about hanging hard, ride or die together, etc. Eventually, I'm mostly cleaned out. I have $14 left, and the table minimum is 15 tons, so I guess I can't bet. But the helpful dealer says, you can bet with that, we won't tell anyone. So I do, and I immediately lose. Oh well, there goes his tip. I hang around for a few more hands to watch how the woman does, and she keeps losing up to $100 per hand. Just as I'm about to leave, though, she starts getting upset. She starts telling off the dealer because he let me bet with $14, which completely ruined the shoe and led to her losing hundreds and hundreds of dollars. This bet should have never been allowed, and so they need to, and get her money back. She never explains what they are supposed to do, just that they need to fix it. She demands that the dealer pull up the cameras. She calls over 2 pit bosses. I try to leave, but she tells me to stay and support her, and I'm too awkward to say no. So I just stand there awkwardly as she's raising her voice at everyone around her. At one point, she looks at me and says, "Why aren't you saying anything?" As if I have any understanding of what the casino is supposed to do. Eventually, I have my fill of listening to a probably drunken asshole, and I discreetly ask one of the pit bosses if I can just leave. The pit boss apologizes, and I take off with no plans to gamble again anytime soon. TLDR, I made a bet just barely under the table minimum because of a gracious dealer, and the other player at the table got absolutely pissed because I apparently ruined the deck for her.